I'd like to know if it's possible, and if so, how to regenerate my physical body to its original blueprint and keep it in that state till such time I decide to leave this dimension/point of consciousness. Is this possible in my current state of consciousness? I don't seem to age at the same rate as everyone else, and was wondering if this is due to increased light quota.
Okay, so the idea of how you age, such a good question, isn't it? And really, it's a nice general question for everybody, but we'll also address your specific question, your specific situation too. When you start becoming more conscious, you separate yourself from mass belief. And when you separate yourself from mass belief, when you remove yourself from the energetics of how it's supposed to be, yeah, you can start changing all kinds of things. And we've said before, and it is true, that when you become Homo Spiritus, you're going to have control over the way your physical body presents, much the same way that you have control over how you react to triggers now. Sometimes you don't feel like you have control over reacting to triggers, and sometimes you know you do. And as you move into the Homo Spiritus state, you will have more and more control over how your physical body reacts to the process of aging, disease, illness, etc. So absolutely you can have an effect on that. And again, sometimes your body is in a pattern of aging, but your mind isn't, or your spirit isn't, or the way you present in the world isn't. So you can be lighthearted and young-hearted even if your body looks, quote, old to others. So you have to be really careful that you don't decide ahead of time what it looks like to not be aging the way you would have if you hadn't started on a conscious journey. You have to be really careful that you don't decide, well, if I don't look like I did when I was 30, that means I'm still getting old, etc., etc. Because it can be very true that your body can be presenting an aging pattern while you're actually growing younger in your experience, in your expression, in your vitality. So ahead of time, do not decide that if you want to replace your blueprint with another blueprint, it has to be when you were 20 or 30 or 40. Because your 70-year-old blueprint might actually be an authentic expression of your soul's presentation right now. So with that caveat that you want to be very careful that you don't decide exactly ahead of time how it has to be, yes, absolutely, you're all having more and more influence on the way your physical body presents. You're also being affected by your society and by your experiences in society more than you ever have been before. So it's kind of a catch-22 because you can get out of the aging cycle that you've been previously exposed to and still age in a way that is different than you would have, but it's still aging because your sensitivity level has gone up, and that can have a wear and tear effect on your body, especially if you're moving between low and high vibrational states on a regular basis. This is why we've worked with you guys so much to try to get you on a high vibrational trajectory and tell you, don't go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because that will wear down your body. It doesn't necessarily mean you're aging in the traditional sense, it just means you're wearing yourself out. And those are two different things. They're two very different things because aging has the idea that you have no influence on your body. Wearing yourself out means I have an influence on my body and the influence I'm having isn't one that's constructive. So the idea that as I get kind of more sensitive, more aware vibrationally of what's going on, I have to be even more careful, not that I don't get old, but that I don't let myself get drained, and that if I do get drained, that I find ways to recharge and rejuvenate myself. And that's really going to be one of the major things that light workers have to deal with is, how do I rejuvenate myself? How do I recharge myself? Because as we've told you, you are not monks in the cave in this lifetime. You're monks in the marketplace, which means you don't have isolation to use as a buffer against or away from the energetics of society. Now, when you go out into society and you're emanating your truth and you're experiencing people in lower vibrational states, that can really drain you and wear you down, and you are responsible for how you interact with that. And in the beginning, of course, or as you go in these levels and get more and more sensitive, it can be more and more difficult to do this. And you have to each time say, okay, I'm not broken, I'm just finding myself more sensitive. And as I find myself more sensitive, what is the next thing that I'm learning? Most of the time, the next thing you're learning is that you have to be hyper-vigilant over what vibrational level you allow yourself to interact with. And if someone or something is a low vibrational unconscious experience, it's up to you to say, this isn't good for me. This doesn't serve me. This doesn't help me. And as we talked about on Wednesday, sandpaper people, look at what you want in your life so that you can be very cautious that you're learning from the experiences you're having, rather than just being drained and drugged down by the experiences you're having. Okay?